I'm on.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It is Jeranism here with a live simulcast for you this evening. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. I'm actually a guest this evening along with Bob from Globebusters. And also I just found out that Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer will also be all guests on Rob Skiba's radio show called Revolutionary Radio Project. That show is on Truth Frequency Radio. And I will be simulcasting the first hour of this 2-hour show. I do think that the second half will be simulcasted somewhere else. I'm not sure if it's going to be on the Globebusters channel or possibly another channel. I'm sure if you're in the chat, you'll see people talking about it and can follow the link. If, however, you cannot find it, you can just simply go to tfrlive.com/listen-live, and you'll be able to listen to the second hour of the show for free. And it'll also be free the entire next week. So if you don't see any links in the chat to anybody else simulcasting hour number 2, that would be the way to see it, is to go to tfrlive.com, listen live. So the show starts in about 10 minutes, so I just wanted to jump in, say hi to everybody. Let me get this all up and running for you. So that's what's going on this evening. Quick thanks to Dirk from Indiana and Dee from Winnipeg, Manitoba for your letters. I'll be responding soon, but just wanted to say thank you. I do enjoy getting the mail and the postcards, and I just really enjoy all that stuff. So I'm happy to be on Rob Skiba's show, and let me check in with the chat and see if anything's exciting going on. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. But just real quick, my thoughts on Rob Skiba, and he will be going live, like I said. He'll be calling us in about 7 minutes or so, and then we'll be live on the TFR. So I have about 7 minutes to talk about Rob. Just so everybody knows my feelings on Rob, I met Rob in North Carolina. I met Rob again in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and again recently in Denver. Also, we've both been on each other's show. And let me just say that I love the guy. How could I not? He has always been amazing to me. Like I said, we've been on each other's show a few times, and he's always offered that if I ever have a question about the Bible or his beliefs, that all I need to do is contact him, which is awesome. Simply incredible, really. He's never once told me that if I don't find Jesus, that I'll burn in hell, which I've heard from many Christians. He's just been basically a fantastic friend. Someone I know I would call to talk to if I ever needed or wanted to. I know that Rob would be there for me. So that's an impressive thing to say about somebody. And while we may have differing opinions on the Bible, Rob Skiba sees it as divine and the Word of God, and takes it literally, and that's fine. And I, on the other hand, don't quite see it that way. I think it's the oldest book that there is. I think it's a collection of stories written by man. But let me say this about it, that both of us, at least in my opinion, and I could be wrong about this, but if we're both good people, which I think that we are, I think that's all that matters. So Rob may feel differently about that. A lot of Christians may feel differently about that. But for me, I could never knock who Rob Skiba is or whatever's made him that way. And I've told people before that I grew up religious, from a religious upbringing, from a religious family, and I think I'm a better person because of it. So, I can't knock that, and don't knock Rob either. So, shouts out to the chat. Also, Wolverine, I saw you sent me a flat signal in the sky. That's why I started this stream for you. So that's for Wolverine. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. And hello to Wide Awake in the chat. A shout out to him. Chris Van Mitri, nice shout out there. Effie Mishka, of course. How could I not shout her out? Hey, Robbie, what's up? Celebrate Truth in the house. Appreciate that. I see Cammie in the house. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us this evening. I see Globebusters in the house with a new logo. Very cool. Who else is here? Scrolling up a little bit more. Andres, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. I'm happy you guys are all here. And like I said, I will disappear momentarily. And remember, this is not my show. So as soon as I get the phone call from Skype, which you will hear me get that phone call, then you can expect it to be taken over by Rob Skiba. I think tonight we're going to be talking about the Behind the Curve documentary, and we may spend some time on the National Geographic Salton Sea video. So that's going to be a majority of the show. Okay, Karen B will be streaming the second half, so if people see Karen B, if she says something here, you can click on her icon and go to her channel and be ready to watch hour number 2. So this show will go until about an hour and 7 minutes from now, and then I will dump the stream, and it'll be picked up by good old Karen B. Thank you, Karen, for doing that. Thank you for everything you do, Karen B. Jeran, I'm 29. You're old enough to be my dad. Are you old enough to be my dad? No, I'm not old enough to be your dad, unless I had a child at under 10. So, no, don't think that's possible. But who knows? Hey, Robert, what's going on? Nice to see you. Shout out to you as well. Oh, a FEMA Region 9 participant, Charles V. Hello. Oh, Mark Sargent endorses this product, and that is all that I care about. Is really, does Mark Sargent, does he verify? Does he stand behind me? If he does, oh, my life is sweet. Globebusters, hey guys, what happened to your channel? All the content was removed. Yeah, we should talk about that soon, but basically we had a little bit of a copyright thing happen. It's kind of funny. Bob and I, way back when, 3 years ago, when we started Globebusters, and Bob wanted to call it Ballbusters, and I said, oh no, let's call it Globebusters, and it's a play on Ghostbusters, and this, and it's funny, and so we did it, and if everyone saw the logo before, it used to be like the little ghost, but we put a globe body on him. But I think the entire time we knew that we were treading on, we were treading lightly on thin ice there, and so as the channel has gotten a little bit bigger, as time has gone on, I think we have 40,000 subscribers now. We just thought it was a good time to change the logo and make sure that there is no connection there. And as far as the intro video we used, that song was actually purchased by us, so it is completely copyright free for us to use that Globebusters intro song. But as you see the little logo next to Bob's name there under Globebusters, you'll notice that it's a little bit different. Josh from Oregon, awesome. Oh man, if Josh from Oregon and Mark Sargent both back this and endorse this show, phew, boy, are we in good shape. Super good shape. So what else is going on? Hopefully everybody enjoyed my video yesterday. I've actually seen quite a few Skype messages and some messages from other people saying that some of that info was stuff they'd never heard before, and I think was it Carlos? Somebody told me that it was kind of the best flat Earth evidence that they've heard. I'm not sure it's so much flat Earth evidence. What it really is proof that the Earth doesn't spin, and the trickery that they use. And a couple people have asked me to summarize it because they don't want to listen to that entire PDF. It's kind of above their heads. That's what they say. So I will do a video where I'll just summarize it real quickly. It doesn't take long to see what they've done. They are calling other things, like the idea that the Earth is the center of the universe, they call that pseudoscience. But that is based on observations. And what you do when you take observations and then you mix in a bunch of mathematics is you can output different things and then tell people that it's science. And that's what they've done with the idea of the Earth spinning through space and flying through space, because no test, no experiment has ever shown that. So imagine what we've been taught about science and the scientific method. So, here we go, guys. It's showtime, and you won't hear much from me anymore unless I'm asked to speak. So thank you guys for joining us. And remember, second hour is going to be on Karen B's channel.
With Phoenix, Quantum Connections, with Lucky. Looks like we're all here. You can listen to any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117. Or call into your favorite show, toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Up for a vote, executive action. I'm Barbara Cusack. 2 bills go before the Senate tomorrow aimed at ending the partial government shutdown.
Federal workers protested inside a Senate office building. Party leaders set the stage for Thursday's dueling votes.
It's hard to think of a good reason to oppose this.
Our amendment. Open up the government and then let's talk.
The Democratic proposal, reopen the federal government until February 8th while both sides negotiate. The GOP proposal, the president's proposal, 3 years of DACA protections in exchange for $5.7 billion for the border wall, a non-starter for Democrats. In Washington, I'm Karen Caifa.
Correspondent Abby Phillips says there's also been talk about President Trump taking executive action to get border wall funding.
This would be different from declaring a national emergency, but it would do essentially the same thing, taking money from one part of the government, applying it to the border wall. But we are also learning that in his meeting with conservative leaders that he convened for this purpose, the president was non-committal about declaring any kind of executive action.
The Washington Post reports the White House has asked federal agencies to provide a list of programs that could be endangered if the partial government shutdown lasts into March. A hostage standoff in Central Florida ended with lives lost. Police Chief Carl Hoagland says a 21-year-old suspect who opened fire inside a bank in Sebring contacted police dispatch and negotiated with officers before he surrendered.
After an assessment of the scene, we're sorry to learn that we have at least 5 victims, people who were senselessly murdered as a result of his act in this bank.
Florida Department of Corrections records show the suspect was hired as a trainee prison guard in the state in November and resigned 2 weeks ago. New Orleans Saints cornerback P.J. Williams was arrested today and charged with driving while intoxicated, among other traffic violations. I'm Barbara Cusack.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Revolutionary Radio Project. I'm your host, Rob Skiba, and tonight I have 4 guests who will be joining us for this broadcast. Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer, Bob Nodell, and Jeran Campanella. And I invited them on because I recently saw a few videos and I wanted to talk to them about it. One of them was a video that I was actually a part of, at least sort of behind the scenes, watching and streaming live in a 3-hour live broadcast with Jeran. Through my cell phone. But before we get into these videos, I'd kind of like to get caught up with my guests. I haven't spoken with them in a while, at least probably since November. So, I don't think we need to go through introductions. I've been on their shows before. They've been through, I've been on their shows. They've been on my show. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Let's see. Ladies first. Patricia, are you there?
Yes, I am, Rob. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, me too. So what's been going on in your world since the November conference?
Well, I took a little break for a while and then I came back guns blazing. Well, not literally, and have been doing lots of shows on lots of different topics. So kind of the whole thing continues, looking into all sorts of lies we've been told, and of course the flat earth.
Any interesting guests on flat earth and other hot potatoes?
Nah.
No?
Yeah, definitely. Every single person, all sorts of channels, from tiny channels with less than a couple hundred subscribers to much bigger channels. I'm not going to name names and all of that, but I do encourage people to check it out at Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes on YouTube.
Yeah, right on. All right, Mark, what about you? Anything interesting? Any guests on Strange World? What's been going on in your world since November?
Subject matter experts come and go on Strange World. Mostly I've been trying to promote the film, the documentary that was released in November, which we're going to talk about, doing a lot of the film festival stuff and doing some damage control, trying to spin it as well as I can. But yeah, other than that, just staying really, really busy. I think my channel now has 1,300 videos or so on it. Flat Earth.
Wow,
yeah.
1,300.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of Flat Earth videos. But
yeah, right on.
But I'm far from burned out. So 2019 should be a banner year.
Good. All right, right on. So Bob and Jeran, I don't know if this was just a rumor. I haven't really been on the YouTube a whole lot. lately. Did Globebusters also take a little bit of a break, or are you guys still been doing videos all along?
No, actually, we did take a break. I decided that I wanted to take the holidays off, kind of to, cool down a little bit and regroup. So we took about 6 weeks off, and now we're back doing it again.
Very good. And Jeran, you also have a show. Anything interesting in your world since the last time we spoke?
No, just they did that Monterey Bay test, the mirror observation, and so we've been working with those guys to see if we can get back there and do it again before the winter goes away, because I'm sure we'll talk about that when we get to the Salton Sea and what happens when you look across water when it's 120 degrees versus when you do it in the winter and you can actually see a mirror reflection from 13 miles away. So no, I hope to be doing that again soon, and just been posting videos a lot and doing some live streams. And before we got started, Rob, I did tell all my viewers that were listening just that you've always been amazing to me. You've been a really good friend, and I appreciate that more than you know. So I'm happy you have me on the show. Always enjoyed our chats, and just wanted you to know that I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, right on. And the feeling's mutual with everybody here, actually. Thank you guys so much for coming on. It was last minute notice. I know I kind of contacted everybody today and said, hey, you guys interested in coming on? Everybody was very excited about it. So I'm excited to jump in as well. But before we get into I want to talk about the Behind the Curve documentary and the National Geographic piece they did on Flat Earth and the ridiculous tests that were performed on the Salton Sea this past summer. But before we go there, I'd like to get you guys' thoughts on the, what's his name? Owen Benjamin, I think. His little meltdown there about debating Eric Dubay. I saw the one where David Weiss had added commentary to it. I got to say, for me, it was very cathartic. I was just kind of feeling a bit depressed, and Sheila says, have you seen this? And I laughed. I belly laughed really hard, not at him, but with him, because that 25-minute or so video that he put out was me for a year and a half.
Yeah, I think we all could relate to it. I've also heard people say, oh, no, he's a shell, he's a plant and all that. I see him as being genuine, and maybe either this is what he's really going through, or this is his way of soft selling it or soft peddling it to his audience to bring them along the journey that he's been going through. Either way, I think he's legit.
Yeah, me too. In fact, Rob, it's funny because I have mentioned you and Owen in the same sentence. Every time I listened to him, I was going, "This is what Rob went through." Only he didn't put it on a live stream. That's the difference. I mean, he was going through it literally. It was like somebody turning into like a flat Earth werewolf, literally live on camera. And
Bill Collins.
He's like contorting, and it's like, wow, that's really incredible. I would have thought he would have turned the camera off by now, but he didn't. So good for him. Seriously, 6,000 people in a live stream. Well, we'll take it. Sure.
Yeah. Anytime I hear that Phil Collins song that you played when you shut things down, I only think of you now. I don't think of the video or when the music came out. I just think of you, Rob.
Well, yeah, I was having a meltdown just like that for a good year, at least a year. So it was, I don't know if that was a legitimate expression of what he's going through or if it was an act, but either way, it was rather cathartic, I thought, anyway.
Well, it didn't seem like an act to me, and he's the kind of person that you need to be to get into this kind of flat Earth talk and this kind of line of research, because you really have to be unafraid of the social kickback that you're going to get. And I think there's so many people that may start looking into it, may ask a friend, may ask a family member, and as soon as they're told they're an idiot, as soon as they're told it's already been decided, I think that they shy away from it. And the fact that he didn't do that right when he started getting that kickback, he just started banning people and getting rid of them altogether. So I think that, I don't know when he'll come along. It may be, a while, because there's a lot of research that you need to do. And I think David Weiss always says it best when he says, if you believe me, then that's you're bad. You really need to do your own research. And we all know, Rob, you said it took you a year and a half. It took me several months, and I think the same goes for all of us until we were okay with making videos about it or okay with talking about it, because there's so much research that goes into it, and you really need to peel back kind of the the veil of secrecy that's been shrouded around the idea of the globe. So for me, I just think it's a matter of time until he comes along. And I hope to be there when he does.
Yeah. Is he Now, he mentioned he's going to have a debate with Eric Dubay. Has that date been set, or is it still on?
The debate hasn't been set yet.
Is it really going to happen, though? Because I've seen Dubay in comment sections, sorry, Mark, of other people's videos saying really bad things about Owen Benjamin. So,
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they kind of had a little back and forth war of words a little bit in the chat that I saw. So I don't think it's going to happen. But I have heard him mention ODD, and then I contacted ODD and said, "Hey, are you interested in talking to Owen if he ever reaches out?" And he said, "Yeah, why don't we both talk to him?" And I said, "Well, he's never mentioned me. I don't know why you'd say that." And he says, "Dude, he tags you in all his Instagram posts." So I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know he watches my videos." So, yeah, one of these days when he starts talking flat Earth, if we can get, maybe the flat Earth community in that chat to kind of point out that ODD and I are there, or whoever else is there that's willing to talk to him, maybe he'll take a look. But his chat runs so fast, I can't keep up with my chat, and there's less than 1,000 people in there when he's got 6,000 people. Which, by the way, if you've ever seen a comedy show at like I don't know, Radio City Music Hall, the capacity of that place is like 6,000. So if he's getting 6,000 people a night to listen to his live stream, that's amazing. That's like filling Radio City Music Hall every night. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they're quality rants. I mean, let's face it, the man can go off. I mean, he's 3-4 hours, no problem. Doesn't even hardly comes up for breath. It's amazing.
I tend to agree with a lot of the stuff he says too. That's off the topic of the flat Earth. About being a real man. I mean, he's a hunter, and I'm not into that. That's the one thing. But other than that, just being a real man and loving his family, and there's a lot of things about the guy seem really legitimately great.
And he's right down the road from here. Just so you guys know, I put a soft pitch out to him, not through the chat rooms, just a little email. It says, "Hey, you're going to get together. I could be there in 90 minutes, but whatever. Whoever he reaches out to, great. I'm just happy he's taking the journey."
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, and
doesn't matter.
He's taking it seriously. Whoever he ends up debating. I mean, look, when I went into the debate with Sungenis, I had to take literally an entire month and do nothing but like study this guy. It's like, it's one thing to know what you think you know, whatever that is. But when you're going into the ring with somebody else, it's like a boxer knows how to box. But he doesn't just jump in the ring with anybody. Whoever the challenger is, he watches reels of that guy's fighting style, gets to know how to fight that particular person. Yeah. So with him, he's going to have to, not only does he have to figure out who he's going to debate and, if he's going to take it seriously, study that person and, what they know and their tactics and whatnot. But he's also got to, as he looked like he was doing in that video rant, look into the topic itself.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever going to do a debate. I think it was mostly because it was going to be an instructional thing, where he was just going to, because he's using too much of our verbiage already, and you've seen him. He will not condemn flat Earth, and most of the other people will, and he won't do it. He'll you've heard the line. It's like, "Oh no, I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a flat earther." It's like, "Oh yeah, how many times have we heard that before?" And then
I could loan him Zetetic Agnostic if he wants to use it for a while.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about the documentary Behind the Curve, is the title of it, starring Mark Sargent as the lead protagonist, and co-starring Patricia, Bob, Jeran, and Nathan Thompson as the evangelist.
And Flatsmaker.
Yeah, they had these little titles under everybody's name. And of course, there's a fair amount of supporting guest stars, and actually they had several shout-outs to Zen Garcia's Firmament book. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I don't know if you got a chance to see that yet or not.
I thought it was weird when I saw the film because I didn't know at all what the film was going to be when my part was filmed. I held up the Zetetic Astronomy book in my house, and then as I watched the film, I saw, oh, wait, there it is again. It almost made it appear that this was the cult book of Flat Earth, which is odd because I showed those guys, Daniel, who was filming lots of Flat Earth books, but that's the only one he put in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a lot of content to go through. Just to give you a brief history of it, they approached me back in the spring of 2017, and we shot from spring of 2017 all the way through the conference, and then I think some touch-up stuff with Jeran after the conference, if I'm not mistaken. Then they edited the beginning of 2018, and then the premiere up in Toronto was April 30th of 2018. So they spent a lot of time on it. I mean, it was pretty polished by the time they got to it. But yeah, it wasn't quite what I was expecting, but in some ways it was. Anyway,
well,
sorry,
when I hear about a documentary coming out on this, you immediately think, okay, here's another hit piece. I don't know if I had anything really in my head about what to expect other than that, perhaps. It's just going to be another one of those hit piece type things. But it was all said and done. I think it was a well done documentary. Mm-hmm. There was some creative editing I could tell that took place in a number of situations, and that's really why I wanted to bring you guys on to talk about it. How did you end up sort of being the primary focus, Mark? How did this project get started?
Daniel Clark was going through YouTube, and he was noticing the huge uptick. At the beginning of 2017, there was this massive influx of flat Earth videos. Not just 2015, 2016. By the time we hit 2017, in fact, it was right after, I think, beginning of 2017 was the whole Kyrie Irving thing that took off, and so it all of a sudden raised a lot of flags in media. And so he called me, and it was just an exploratory thing. He said, look, I want to fly up and talk to you for a bit. And we sat down over pizza for, I think, maybe an hour. And they said, you know what? Let's get the freaking cameras out of the car, and let's just start shooting some stuff. And that's what we did. And by the time the end of the first day was done, we started talking about who else, potential people that should be involved in this thing, and events and different things we were going to cover. And it just kind of flowed naturally to where we shot in, oh my God, how many locations? Salem, Oregon, Seattle, Houston, of course, with Patricia, Raleigh, Los Angeles, and then everybody else had shot where they were shooting. But it was quite an experience.
Yeah. So the documentary kicks off right from the start. Mark Sargent walking on the beach, and I guess about 7 minutes into the video, it sort of gives your wake up moment, and hopefully this will work. I'm going to play a clip from that right now.
I became a flat earther because I tried to debunk flat Earth. Everybody that becomes a flat earther does the same thing. They say it's a stupid idea, I'm going to debunk flat Earth, and then they get sucked in like the La Brea tar pits. When it came to this, I looked at it for literally 9 months before I finally turned around. The Jerry Maguire moment that I had, I remember the date, I remember the time. It was February 10th, 2015, 3 o'clock in the morning. 3:30 in the morning, to be exact.
3:30, Mark, really?
Yeah, it was 3:30. I wasn't just making that up.
You should have
3:30 in the morning.
You should have said it was 3. Come on.
I know. Well, hey, look, I'm not going to take total blame. Remember, Chris Pontius's model. Chris Pontius was also in the movie.
Yes.
The model that he was working on was the 33rd model. And
on September 11th.
Yeah. Blame Daniel Clark for the numerology on this one.
Somebody might not know what we're talking about, but 33, that's a very important number in the world of looking into conspiracies. And so, whenever that number comes up, those with an alert mind will raise an eyebrow or two. But you know what? 33 is just a number. We were all 33 at one time in our life. That doesn't mean that we were bad.
You're not 33 now?
Well, yeah, I am, but still.
Yeah, I thought one of these days I need to make a video about myself that proves that I am an Illuminati shill, because I look back at some of the things in my life, like I this would get a lot of hits too. Rob Skiba, absolute proof Illuminati shill, right? I saw Star Wars 13 times, and I've made that pretty well known. I grew up in Chicopee, Massachusetts, which is on the 72nd meridian. That's a big occult number. I moved down to Texas and to Dallas on the 33rd parallel when I was 33. In the first place I worked was for a freelance job for a company called 33 Parallel. So there you got it.
And then you got my wedding date, which was 11/11/11, which is, that was back in 2011 before I knew anything about conspiracies or numerology or anything. So I just got married on that date because we liked it. We saw 11/11 on the clock a lot, and I thought it would be the best way for me to easily remember my anniversary. And now I hear it all the time. Oh, and they showed the plaque on their wall. It showed 11/11/11 in his house, and he's a Mason, and what are you going to do?
Yep, and I just don't have any occult numbers associated with me. I feel really left out.
I'm sure we can analyze your name and then put Globebusters with it and distill it down to 33.
If we send it through the calculator, I'm sure with the reversed ordinal or the backwards ordinal, or so, we can find some numerology in there.
Yeah, without a doubt.
For sure. So then you have the opening sequence there, and they did a good job with that, but they showed the Apollo 11 faking the Earth through the window in the opening sequence. Right. And that video actually shows up several times throughout the video. But so we kind of go through Mark's journey and his early clues that he puts out, and then this astrophysicist, right? How many of those were in there?
Yeah.
Hannelore, I think was her name.
Oh boy.
Oh, the girl with the pink hair who's now a brunette. Yeah.
She comes on about 10 minutes into the video or so. Yeah. And she's intrigued, right? She's like, oh, flat Earth, this is interesting. She starts looking into it. And you mentioned the flight trackers, right? Tracking the southern flights in one of your videos. So they show her going to a flight tracker site. And of course, she didn't watch this, because I did that too. When that video came out and I watched that particular one, first thing I did was go look up a flight tracker. And yeah, you can see planes fly out a little bit, but then boop, they go bye-bye.
Oh, sure. Plus, she wasn't looking at the latitude and longitude. That was the big point, which was fine. You may be able to see the graphic, but click on the graphic and tell me where that plane is. You can't prove the route without latitude and longitude. They disappear at about 150 miles out. But of course, creative editing, they weren't going to go into. The edited. I won't say they were completely neutral here, because the producers and the directors of the show were globalists. Let's get that on the table right away. It was absolutely not a flat Earth pro-propaganda type piece. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's a little clip from that part of the video.
Yeah, what's this guy doing? Seems to be going south. Where are you going, buddy?
She's pointing at an airplane just off the coast.
Yeah, where's that coming from, if not the southern hemisphere? This is a very easy test to perform.
Like, in the way she does it, it's just so condescending. Like, totally. Oh yeah, see, I just proved everything. So
if it were that easy, none of us would be here now.
Right. Yeah, if that's all you had to do to see that the Earth's a globe is just look at some flight software and say, oh, no, there's a plane there, then it must be a globe. It's easy.
Where you going, little guy? Smack.
I know. Where are you going? Yeah. Let's see here. Then they got I think it's a 3-minute clip here, talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect and all that. Let me play this clip here.
We tend to form the beliefs based on a couple things. One is our intuitions, just what feels right. Another is our subjective experience. For most of us who look out on the horizon, indeed, it looks flat.
That seems like a reasonable thing. And so you ask, okay, well, why are we saying that the Earth's round? If you don't have someone who's going to give you a satisfying answer, you might well then try to find alternatives.
It's what you can observe. You don't need complicated math formulas to figure out where you live. But the powers that should not be have told us so. And trust us, believe us. And we have. I did. We all did.
Something that you see a lot in science is imposter syndrome, which is a phenomenon where the more you know about a topic, the more you feel like you aren't actually an expert. You feel like you can't possibly be an authority on this. On the flip side, there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
The Dunning-Kruger effect is a psychological finding that people who don't have knowledge or expertise about something tend to have a false confidence that they are, in fact, very knowledgeable about something.
It becomes this tendency to assume that you have all the facts, that what you know is everything that there is to know.
If you get online, you'll see pages and pages of so-called evidence that seems scientific, right? Here's an equation, here's a diagram, and you go, maybe they're onto something there. Then I feel like that's just as good as an opinion of a physicist or a consensus of, 20 physicists.
We've all been brainwashed by scientism, by those priests.
This is a way of thinking, starting at, I don't know, then chipping away at the I don't know through evidence with no motive on where it takes you. And you come up with a new idea, and the first thing that's going to happen is 10 people are going to try to figure out why it's wrong. Okay, it's called institutional disconfirmation. So when you have conviction, it's really well earned. So to have a vendetta against that is a little odd.
Science should have wiped us out literally in the first month. And it's the exact opposite. We're not just winning, we're crushing them because they don't know how to address it. Because they're not convinced they can knock it out, they don't want to get into the ring. We've got questions out there which they can't answer.
How much time do you have to spend on every theory that is out there, right? And many times the things that we are debating are not even theories, either because they're not falsifiable or sometimes they've already been falsified.
Absolutely ludicrous what they're teaching. You can't feel any of the movement, and they think we go faster than a bullet through space.
I'd say take physics. I mean, that's just fundamental. I mean, if you're driving in a car and I throw a ball up in the air, where's the ball going to come down? It's going to come down in my hand. Okay, it's not going to fly through the back windshield of my car.
Because it's an enclosed system.
Wow. And they'll keep using that one over and over and over again.
Yeah, and these are the people that say that we're suffering from Dunning-Kruger syndrome because we just wanted to go ahead and just believe in this stuff, and they will sit there and listen to the scientism priests and believe every word that they say and never look past that. And then, and then to call us, guilty of Dunning-Kruger is just beyond belief.
Yeah, they talk about science and proceeding with no motive. Really?
Yeah, right.
And that particular scientist with the accent, he was the guy, if I'm not mistaken, that we grabbed because he's from Los Angeles. That the Los Angeles Flat Earth chapters, they did sit down debates with him for hours
really?
at an Airbnb. Oh yeah, they sat down with him and really really chewed on this for some time. And he was, of course, he was never going to give in. The conditioning is just way too thick. But he was there. I mean, he sat down with him for multiple sessions. So
and I think it's interesting there too that Nathan said, they say we're flying through space, but we don't feel it. And yeah, that may be true. But more importantly than we don't feel it is the fact that it's never been shown in any test or experiment that the Earth moves at all. So they leave those things out. Leave those things out that no test has ever shown it. That I just did a video yesterday talking about it. It's ridiculous that it's which one is pseudoscience. It's the one that employs mathematical transform equations to make it possible that the Earth can spin and move. No test shows it.
Well, Jeran, don't forget. I mean, there was a test that showed the Earth moving. Right? It was supposedly me.
Right.
which
right.
I never performed this test, and supposedly, Globebusters proved that the Earth was moving.
Well,
but
isn't it funny, Bob?
That,
these guys won't believe anything that we say. They won't listen to us at all until the second that this happens, and then they're going to use that as some sort of proof. They're going to a movie. This guy, Godless Engineer, he watches this movie and then uses it as some sort of proof. It's like, do you not understand that it's a movie? That the guys who made the movie are, as Mark just said, they're globe believers who that's what the outcome of the movie was going to be. That was their intent going in. Their intent was not to show that the Earth is flat. So it's just funny to me that these guys will say everything Bob and Jeran say is lies and this and that, but then the second we say something that they think proves what they're saying, oh, now look at what Jeran and Bob say. Look what Bob did.
Yeah. And they never listen to the rest of the story.
Never.
Because of the rest of the story is actually what conclusively proves really that it's not moving.
And we're going to break. We'll talk some more when we get back.
All right.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test.
All right, guys, hopefully everyone listening can hear me. I don't really know. I tried to mute myself on the Skype call. Just so you know, you're listening to Rob Skiba's Revolutionary Radio Project. His radio show is on Wednesday nights, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific to 11 p.m. Pacific. And he invited Bob, myself, and Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer are his guests. So that's what you're listening to, is a live show. And at the end of the next break, I'm going to be cutting my stream, but you can follow Karen B. and she's going to be having the second half of the show on her channel, so you can follow it over there. But thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you're enjoying it. We're talking about the Behind the Curve movie, which I'm sure you'll hear us talk about, and you've heard me talk about before. It was, definitely my learning experience as far as trusting a documentary crew who basically called and asked me if I'd be interested in them filming my experiment, and I just took it as, yeah, that'd be great, come film my experiment. They filmed it, and then they chopped it up and put it in a different order in the movie, and I always felt safe because they told me they would give me the footage that they filmed, so that I would be like, oh, great. Now that they've completely screwed me and made it look like something happened, I can't wait to show all the footage. Well, the last time I talked to them, they refused to give me any footage, saying that it's in their contractual obligations with Netflix. So anyway, we'll be going back to the radio right now.
Was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I'm your host, Rob Skiba, and this evening I'm talking with my guests, Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer, Bob Nodell, and Jeran Campanella. And we're talking right now about the documentary Behind the Curve. Where is that available if people wanted to check it out?
You can get it right now from, let me go back to the homepage on this. By the way, you can just go behindthecurvefilm.com is where all the information is, but you can stream it on iTunes, Amazon Prime, YouTube, movies, and of course Google Play. And everywhere else, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's on Netflix or Roku or something like that, but I mean, those big four, you should be able to find it.
Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, right before the break, we were talking about a 3-minute clip I played from the documentary talking about the so-called Dunning-Kruger effect, which just like Bob said, just kind of cracks me up because, I mean, here these people have absolutely no idea about our origins, and yet they pretend they know everything about it. And it's in every textbook, from the Big Bang to evolutionary biology, like they know everything, but they know nothing. Is that not the exact definition of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Well, I think Dunning-Kruger is something to the effect of you're too dumb to know how stupid you actually are.
There you go. You're too dumb to know. Yeah, exactly. To know the information, to absorb the information that you're peddling. You're pushing stuff out without, you're saying stuff, but you have no backing behind it.
And yet you think you're the authority on it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's insulting to be accused of that when it's really what they are. So weird.
It really is. And most of these people don't understand that, we all went to the same schools that they did. Mm-hmm. We all grew up believing the exact same thing. And obviously, if they think that we have any intelligence at all by, some of the things that we talk about, they should have to wonder, it's like, well, maybe there is something to this, and maybe we should look into it a little bit deeper. But that I think for some people that really goes against their belief system, and it's very threatening to them, and so they have to kind of lash out at it.
Well, it's scary that you got a sun that we're all told is 93 million miles away, but nobody knows. So when you've got somebody who's starting to bring some of these things up, like, hey, where's the proof of these things that we were taught? The distance of the sun, the distance of these other planets. They get very confused, because it is scary to realize, oh, wait, these are beliefs that were indoctrinated into us before we were able to walk. So I think that is an extremely scary thing for anybody to kind of start. And then you have to realize, well, man, do I really want to go back and reshape my entire belief system? And for anybody who's got any kind of education or thinks they're smart or is a PhD, it's just impossible for them to even consider that they might have been lied to and that what's written in textbooks may not be the truth.
And this goes quite a ways back. I mean, I recently read, actually pretty close to right before the conference, read Kings Dethroned, which is one of those books that seems to kind of get lost, I think, maybe because of the title. It kind of throws people off. But, I mean, when you realize how they came up with the numbers and the methods they used to come up with the numbers that we're still using today, it's like, really? How did anybody take this seriously? Right. Have you guys read that book?
Yeah, that's one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's scary. I mean, for me, it's just, they always flip things upside down, right? As we say, they tell us the opposite. And isn't it funny that in their model, the Earth is literally, 0.000000001% of the entire universe, whereas I believe that the Earth is 100% of the universe. The Earth is all there is. So to me, it's such a big eye opener when you start to realize that these guys will flip it completely. They want to make the Earth as unimportant as possible, and so they've completely removed it. And that's how you grow up. You grow up believing you're just one of many spinning, and I don't mean many, I mean trillions of spinning planets spinning around other stars. It makes it very unimpressive when really you need to look around and realize how impressive and amazing and beautiful this place is.
I hate the word universe too, because that implies, these light years and these planets and, life on other planets. And I try to even avoid that word, just making us less and less important.
Yeah, I agree. I hate that word too.
Although to be fair, and Rob will appreciate this, and that is the word universe has been taken in the film industry so many times now to mean smaller things, mostly a cinematic universe. That now when I think of the word universe, even though my initial reaction is like, oh crap, that thing is so monstrous. When they talk about the other uses of universe, it's much, much smaller. So it doesn't bother me that much anymore.
I just recently started binge watching Star Trek Next Generation again. And I'm into season 3 now.
Yeah.
And, I still enjoy it. I appreciate it more for the fiction that it is, probably even more than before, when I believed that it was possible for us to go where no one has gone before, but everywhere they go, they keep meeting people that speak English.
Right.
Universal translator, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though the lips sync up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was, I think Jeran mentioned Godless Engineer, the YouTuber. And there's another guy, what's his name? Simon Dan, I think is his name.
Oh, yeah.
Simon Dan, yeah.
Yeah, both of them have recently put out videos against me because they're kind of breaking down my presentation from the November conference. And, it's like one of these things where I watch these videos like this and I'm yelling at the screen going, yeah, but. Like, I could spend the rest of my life making yeah, but videos.
Yeah, it's amazing, by the way, how many channels now are dedicated against Flat Earth. I mean, dedicated to where, I can't even count them anymore. There's just a whole bunch of them that that's what they live for, to where, they have dedicated days, and when some channels just every day, they'll just pick a different target.
And large amounts of subscribers, which I think is pretty suspect, because when I go away from YouTube, the internet, and the whole flat earth thing and go into the quote unquote real world where everyone thinks we live on a globe, no one's fighting against flat earth. No one's thinking about flat earth. So how could there be these channels with these large numbers of subscribers of people fighting the flat earth, unless maybe those aren't real subscribers?
Oh, well, Psyman Dan is absolutely fraudulent, no question. I mean, the numbers are so bad there that even our garden variety trolls were going against him because they were jealous. It's like, what is this? It's like, you're getting 1 million hits on your channel in a day? Come on, man. And against Flat Earth, no way.
And their arguments are so unbelievably weak too. I mean, just like we just had to debunk a video by the Godless Engineer about this whole thing about Globebusters prove the rotation of the Earth with their ring laser gyroscope. And I mean, literally in that video, he had every single point wrong, from claiming that it was me that did the test, it was me that had the ring laser gyroscope, and then saying, well, you're just so dumb, you don't understand how a gyroscope works, and why would you ever think that it's the stars rotating above? What would ever give you that idea, to even test for that? And I just said, 2 words, Aries failure. And then I greatly elaborated on that. And it was really quite easy to debunk, especially if you understand the history of some of the not ancient experiments, but the experiments that took place about 100 years ago, Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale, Aries failure, Sagnac, all of these things, which are largely buried or obfuscated, come out and prove absolutely, what I was talking about. And it made perfect sense that we would get the same results with the ring laser gyroscope, or I should say the person in our group that actually did the test, not me. He got exactly the same results that Michelson-Gale did. So, what was the explanation? Well, it was all explained 100 years ago. So, but they don't ever look into that.
No.
Well, yeah, the way the video, we'll actually get to it because I've got this kind of set up in chronological order here. That comes up at about 48 minutes into the video. It makes it look like the way you're talking that you actually did the test. So, of course, it's all in the editing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I said our group, but I actually said point blank that a member in our group did that. I mean, that's actually in there. So they completely ignored that. And beyond that, what really upset me about that was when Daniel was here. I mean, he was very interested in the ring laser or the fiber optic gyro test. And he wanted to know, he kept emailing me and says, what's the results? What have we figured out about this? And so I did a show on it where I did a complete reveal on, the results that we got, and also, the rebuttal to it. And he completely ignored it, just absolutely didn't even acknowledge it, didn't put any of it in the movie. So at that point, I was just thinking, these guys are just out to make a hit piece. Because out of all that content that I gave them and Jeran gave them, and I'm sure Mark and Patricia did, it just seems like he really cherry-picked the stuff that would make us look really bad.
Okay.
He did cherry pick, no question. To where even before I saw the very first screening of it in a hotel room in Canada, he asked me afterwards. Well, I should say he asked me right afterwards. Did I mind, the famous green button scene, where Patricia and I had walked away from the simulation thing at NASA. And he zoomed. He didn't even mean to at the time. He just left the camera there. He was waiting for us to leave, and he thought, "Oh, with some creative editing, we'll do." I absolutely hit that green button, but 2 seconds worth of editing.
They made it look like you were just thinking it was a touch screen where you're hitting the monitor, and then they panned down as if this idiot didn't know that the button's right next to him.
And because of that, he's such an idiot that, we know flat Earth's fake. We know that's a lie. He's not smart enough to figure out we live on a globe. That was what was implied.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
No question.
Yeah, they came by. And, go ahead.
To be fair, I mean, Daniel was asked. I mean, when they did their Q&A stuff on stage, the very first question that was always asked of them was, "Are you guys flat earthers?" Always. And they, of course, Daniel's one of those types. He's in denial, and he was never good. And even if they would have answered yes, if any of them would have answered yes, the tone would have changed in that audience, because it's like, oh, okay, so it's a propaganda piece. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I do have to add one thing about Carolyn Clark, who's also involved in this film. Daniel Clark and Carolyn Clark different. They're not married. They're not related, just same last name. But back in 2016, she entered a film into a documentary, a short film that lasted 20 minutes. It's called Patrolling Sandy Hook. Now, I didn't know about her work on this before I said yes to be involved in this documentary. And of course, it is about Sandy Hook, and it's her co-directing debut. And this was when she was an undergraduate. It was a documentary production course at the University of Notre Dame. And, you know, she previously worked for the, ready everyone, National Geographic Channel and National Geographic Studios. And this film takes the viewpoint that Sandy Hook is exactly what was portrayed by the mainstream media, and that anybody who thinks that no children died or that it was, you know, not what we've been told is bad and wrong. So that made me worry. I wish I would have seen that before I went in the film.
Yeah, I wish we all we'd all take it back probably if we had a second chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the same thing happened.
But we trusted because they were so nice.
Right. Daniel came by my house. He came inside. He talked to me on the couch, filmed me at my dinner table talking. None of that stuff made the movie. One of the things I was really upset at is that I didn't live in the best location at that time. But our house was decent. I mean, as far as what it looked like inside, everything was nice. And he doesn't show any of that. And what he did is he went outside my house and turned the camera and filmed my neighbor's house, it's a disaster, and it's like held up by like bricks, and it's got a bunch of stray cats everywhere. Well, he filmed that and inserted it in the movie so it looks like it's my house. So it's
until you said that just now, I thought that was your house.
Right. And see, that's what I'm saying. And anybody would, because that's the way it was filmed. It was filmed like that on purpose. And if you, if you go and ask him now, just like I've told him before on text messages, I said, if somebody asks you if that's my house, you're going to tell them no, right? Oh, yeah. And just like I said, if somebody asks you if that was really the experiment result that you showed at the end of that movie, you're going to tell them it wasn't, right? And at least according to what I've heard, David Weiss, brought it up to him at the live premiere in New York and said, hey, is that, did you misrepresent the experiment at the end? And he said, oh, yeah, well, we kind of, edited. And so, I mean, they admit it, what they did.
Yeah.
Well,
so they're engaging at the 30-minute mark. They talk about confirmation bias. I'll just play that.
Nobody wants to admit that they've been fooled, but the reality is it's happened to every one of us.
Confirmation bias is one of the most solid empirical findings in psychology. If I have a belief or an attitude, I will search for instances that confirm what I believe. And also, I'll find myself in a company with a lot of other people who think the same way as I do.
Isn't that what the entire scientific community is guilty of doing?
Yeah.
Yes, and all the Globers, absolutely.
Yeah, it's identical.
Wow. I mean, even more so, I would say, than we do.
And those guys are just able to say that in the movie and not even notice what they're saying.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We who are involved in exploring the whole flat Earth awakening, we all have slightly different, I would imagine, different viewpoints of how all of this works. We're all looking in different areas and doing different things on YouTube and TFR and wherever. We wouldn't all agree with how things, the map, the model, the sun, the moon, we may have different views. But when it comes to the globe cult, they all believe the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And they get together and they have their attaboy parties.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get a little further into the video, and we're introduced to the villain of the story.
Oh God.
or
otherwise known as the king of flat Earth.
But we didn't know he was going to be in it.
We literally
saw it.
that was
knew.
the one thing that Patricia and I were absolutely surprised. We had to read about it in a newspaper when we went to the premiere because I looked at her and go, wait, is Matt in this? Because I'm reading this. Yeah. Matt's in this.
Let me play that. Let me play a clip.
I'm sorry, Math Powerland, everybody.
Hang on.
Matt wanted to be the king of flat Earth, but he wanted to do it on his terms.
He started this, finding the tension that caused the flat Earth. That's how the flat Earth started.
Which is not what happened. Here you just kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and his voice just became lost in the wind, to where all of a sudden we started, the conference was announced down in North Carolina, and he was invited. And he said, no, I'm not going to do the comment. Why should I be in a room with you guys? You're nothing without me. That whole song and dance, and that was just annoying. So now it's getting more serious.
Mark Sargent is what I always thought. He's been sent in kind of an intelligence fashion, working with Hollywood. But Mark Sargent's not Mark Sargent. It's Warner Brothers. You idiots. And I told you. Warner Brothers has a deal with the Pentagon and the CIA.
Wow. And
Warner
they show
Brothers
what cracked me up is they show his list of demands, and I'm just going to read it. It says, when asked to appear in the film, Matt stipulated that he receive $5,000, 12% of profits, creative control, a guarantee that he be featured in 25 to 50% of the film, and that we support his unverified claim that Mark Sargent is secretly a Warner Brothers executive using an alias. And then there's like this little pause, and then it comes up, we were unable to meet his demands.
Yeah. And that
part was funny.
that was absolutely true, and it was amazing because, and Patricia knows this. I mean, they reached out to him 3 different times. That was only after the 3rd time that he finally, they finally said, okay, enough is enough. But then they figured out, wait a minute, what if we just use his clips? We don't have to interview him. And that worked. But yeah, that was absolutely true. He made those demands, and Warner Brothers told me to say that I officially do not endorse that part of the movie. So.
Did
yeah,
Ralph told you to say that?
But yeah, he was made. Of course, I mean, filmmaking, Rob. Somebody had to be the antagonist, and it was really strange because when they're interviewing all the scientists and the psychologists and everybody else, everybody was really cordial. They were smiling and nice for the, because they're being nice for the cameras. The only person that really could be the villain in this was Matt.
Well,
and so and I thought he was perfect.
But what Matt was doing at the time when this was being filmed is exactly what you just heard. So they didn't have to search through many videos. No. They just basically trained the camera on whatever his YouTube channel was showing at that moment and filmed right off it. So it's not that he was portrayed as the villain. At that point in time, he was being the villain.
Yeah.
Oh, and it only got worse. I mean, when we were in Canada, we were all looking at lawsuits when we came back.
Yeah.
Still waiting for mine.
Yeah, and he hadn't even seen it yet. And I swore, and he didn't do it. I was amazed. I swore that if he ever got a copy of the film, he would make a video where he would just have this epic meltdown that would put, Owen Benjamin to shame, where he would just start just pounding on the keyboard to where it'd break, and then the camera would go dead.
He's forgotten about it now. He's forgotten about that he's suing all of us and that he owns all of us and all the other things. I don't know what he's doing now, but I think he's just like every other sort of threat, just let it go.
Well, he's on chemtrails right now, which is something that I've been really considering getting, more vocal about and talking about. I actually started documenting stuff about this time last year as far as the patterns of when they start spraying here in Dallas. So I can only imagine that if any of us start talking about chemtrails, he's going, I started it.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, he owns chemtrails now. But I'm glad that he's doing stuff on chemtrails. I'm glad anybody's doing anything on any of these things. It all needs to be exposed. But, the stuff he said about Warner Brothers or whatever, what?
Yeah. Oh, and a quick correction, by the way. He was not labeled in the film, if I'm not mistaken, as the king. He was labeled as the originator. Matt. In fact, his full name, it was Matt Boylan, aka Math Powerland, aka the Originator.
Sounds like a rap name.
Yeah, and the animated versions of. I mean, when I saw the animated version of him on screen for the first time, I should tell you, my mouth just dropped.
Yeah,
and I said, "Oh my god."
We were halfway shocked watching it, because we saw it before anybody else, Mark and I did.
Yeah.
And we never saw any outtakes or any I think what people who are in films usually get to see what they call the dailies. None of us saw any of this film until it was made. So we had no say-so in what was going to be used.
Not a freaking...
Lots was left on the cutting room floor and lots was edited. But when we saw Matt on screen, we didn't really know he was going to be in it like that. And our mouths fell open. We were kind of laughing and kind of cringing. It was the weirdest experience ever.
Yeah.
And of course, right after that astrophysicists, and astrophysicists, what do they do, right? I mean, William Shatner went around talking to astrophysicists, and then he came back and said, science and science fiction is the same thing. And he talks about talking to Michio Kaku, and of course, as only William Shatner can do, he's like, what do you do? And he's like, it's all in his head. It's just they sit there and crunch numbers. So here this Hannelore woman comes on right after that, and this is what she says.
You cannot believe a flat earther theory without believing in some giant conspiracy. Because you have to have some reason why all this proof is wrong. And if it's wrong, then it had to have been faked. And if it was faked, well, there you go. There's your conspiracy. And what I always am most curious about is, why would someone bother to fake all this?
And when she says that, they show the footage of Apollo 11 faking the Earth through the window.
Most people wouldn't even know what that was, though. That's the part that's funny.
Yep. But you know what? She was, in a way, she was kind of right. You can't really get here, or it's a lot harder to get to flat Earth unless you have researched other conspiracies and found out, there comes a point, if you're researching other conspiracies, when you realize that it's like, you know what, these guys have lied to us about everything, and really you can't put anything past them. And at that point, it makes it a lot easier to believe in it. But, they really have lied to us on every single level. And that's the one thing that most people can never get their head around.
Yeah, really well said, Bob. Yeah, that's the most important thing, is once you start looking into other conspiracies and see that, you have no choice but to then, address every conspiracy with the open mind of at least, well, is this possible that this has, been lied to? And yeah, I know they think all scientists are liars and all teachers are liars. No, none of us believe that. None of us think that any, scientists or teachers are out there lying on purpose.
Yeah, that was actually a portion of the presentation that I prepared for the November conference that I didn't get to do because I ran out of time. But it was going to address the whole, it's too big a conspiracy. That's the, if this is really, it's just too big. Everybody would have to be in on it. It's like, no, most people would not have to be in on it. Very few would actually have to be in on it.
Right. Again, just, go look at the video I did yesterday that talks about whether or not the Earth spins, and there's no test that's ever shown that it spins, but yet with a little bit of mathematics, you can use these transform equations to get people to think that it does move. And so, yeah, it's not that people are out there lying about it. It's that it's easy to mask some things from people. Excuse me.
Right. And so many people actually believe, that all these things happened, that, that's what the elite are counting on. They realize that they've got everybody buffaloed, and that the sheep, basically the people out there, are going to defend this for them. So that's a big part of this equation.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. When my family went out to Hawaii it was my 10th anniversary, my sister's 20th, and my parents' 50th. So we all did a big family thing. And part of it, we went out snorkeling, and we came back from doing our thing. We got on the boat ride back. There's this young girl, and she was talking about the fish that we saw and the corals and stuff like that. And she's talking all in evolutionary terms. And after we docked and everybody's leaving, people were, saying thank you and whatnot. And the couple in front of us said to the girl, "You did such a good job. That was just really, a great presentation." And she says, "Well, I'm just glad that I was finally able to put my degree to good use." Mm. And I'm looking at that going, yeah, she's not in on the conspiracy. She went to school, an authoritative figure at the front of the room said something that she had no reason to distrust, so she believed it. And then, like you said, Bob, she is now the vocal piece for that and speaking with passion and zeal as if that's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the way that they have designed it. Right. You really have to marvel at how amazing. I mean, the elite really do understand the human psyche, to the level that they can really get people to support their lies and back it up and even die for it. It's astounding. So, if you're religious, like I said, if you're religious, you attribute this to the devil. If you're not religious, you understand that people really are very, very dark, and they can use their intelligence to manipulate people.
That's right. Let's go to break. We'll talk some more when we come back.
All right, guys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. I'm only going to do the first hour here on my channel. To watch the second hour, you can just go to Karen B's channel. I'm sure she'll be mashing it in the chat here in a second, so look for that link, and then you can watch hour 2 of this interview. But no, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you are enjoying it. But for me, that's it. I'll talk to you guys soon. And as always, I remind you to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till next time, guys, this has been Jeranism. Peace.